Why do you support Joe Biden? What has Biden done? Is a question I, along with Democrats and people who support the president, often get asked. So I would be more than happy to show you the accomplishments of our president and why I strongly support our president for reelection. Just as a 15-year-old kid, because the presidency determines my future and my generation's future, and it has been. Starting off with the Biden administration lowering cost of families' everyday expenses, including American families, and making the tax code fairer for everybody and with different wages. Here we have more people working in American history under Biden's presidency, with nearly 11 million jobs being created, and this was in 2022, so it's significantly risen since then. We're seeing 11 U.S. states and also the District of Columbia seeing the lowest unemployment rate in the history of their statehood. 17 states now have an unemployment rate less than 3% for the first time. Unemployment rate is at a historically low rate at 3.5% nationally. Under President Biden and Kamala Harris's leadership, we are making more here in America, not across seas. Biden signed executive orders lowering the cost of goods and ensuring more American-made technologies in this country, making more semiconductors here in America, and also creating more manufacturing jobs across the states. President Joe Biden has rescued the United States economy and completely changed the course of the COVID-19 pandemic that we had previously been going into during the start of his presidency. When President Joe Biden first took office, he reopened all K-12 schools, helped fund historic vaccination campaign to make vaccinations for COVID-19 accessible for all. Nearly 80% of adults have been fully vaccinated against the deadly pandemic. We are seeing huge accomplishments and huge investments in rebuilding the United States infrastructure. We are creating and keeping good-paying jobs across the country. We've built first ever national network of EV charging stations. We've seen record and large investments in rebuilding our roads and bridges, largest investments in public transit, expanding and ensuring access to clean drinking water, the most significant passenger rail, largest investments in tackling legacy pollution, providing and expanding affordable high-speed internet access for every American in the United States, rebuilding a more resilient power grid and scales for new clean energy technologies. Oh, but Biden hasn't done anything though, right? Oh, I'm not done either. I'm not done. Historic expansion for benefits for toxic exposed veterans that were exposed to deadly burn pits. Biden is providing them health care as it expands healthcare benefits for toxic exposed veterans, delivers benefits for more than 5 million veterans. And like I said, this was in 2022, so it's significantly increased since then. Removing red tape from eligibility process, largest and most meaningful gun violence legislation in decades to help try and prevent from one of us getting shot and killed in a school because of Republicans expanding access to deadly firearms and assault weapons. Of course, he protected marriage equality for LGBTQI plus and interracial couples. We've got the historic number of confirmations done by President Biden, including the first Black member of the United States Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson. President Biden is rallying the world and strengthening our alliances to support Ukraine through Russia's invasion to try and prevent a World War III, because if Russia invades Ukraine, where are they going next? And speaking of that, he's also strengthened our alliances and partnerships with different countries. He strengthened and expanded NATO, adding Finland and Sweden, strengthening collective security in NATO, deepened transatlantic partnership. He is tackling terrorism missions through this country. He removed key dangerous terrorists from the battlefield. He demonstrated relentlessness, pursuit of justice, signed executive orders to protect reproductive rights and freedom in the free United States. Patients now receive ensuring life-saving care, protects access to reproductive health care, including abortion during medical emergencies, which can include rape, incest, or a threat to the mother's life and safety, along with the unborn child, by the way. It supports the right to travel across state lines for medical care. For example, in states like Texas, where you cannot receive an abortion, even if you were raped at the age of 12. Now, under President Biden, you can travel state lines to states that do allow reproductive health care. It protects patient privacy and sensitive health info, securing citizens' right to privacy. Historic student debt relief. Let you see the other side here. President Biden has singly signed legislation ending our country's past failed approach to marijuana. It pardons all prior federal offenses for simple marijuana possession for people who were locked up, and our taxpayer money was going for people that were locked up just for basic, simple, small marijuana-related crimes. He's advancing equality and racial justice to ensure that people aren't wrongly convicted and prosecuted for crimes. Executive order to strengthen public safety and trust in this country. The most aggressive climate change action in American history has been signed into law by the current president, Joe Biden. This country is now positioned to achieve its climate goals, cutting our emissions in half by the year 2030 and by net zero by 2050, which this is one of the parts that I said affects me and my generation, even though I'm only 15 and I can't vote. This affects me. This affects my generation. That's why I'm proud to have Biden as my president. Investments in clean energy solutions, more than 100 executive actions to develop clean energy, lower costs, create jobs, and reduce pollution. He's tackling the ongoing climate crisis, which Republicans deny its existence. Protecting lands and waters in this country. More than any president since John F. Kennedy. There's more people with health insurance than ever before in our nation's history. We are seeing a historically low uninsured rate at just 8%. That's an incredible decline from the past. Now, 4 out of 5 people for the first time can finally find coverage on healthcare.gov. There is more than 16 million people enrolled. That is the highest number ever during an ACA open enrollment period. And, you know, there's more. There's more, too. It just keeps going. This man is constantly delivering for his constituents and the people he's sworn in office under oath to represent. I'm not afraid to say that President Biden is the most underrated president we have ever had in American history, because he is. He doesn't get any credit for what he does. None. It's sickening to see how low Biden's approval rating is. He's just getting accomplishment after accomplishment, achievement after achievement done every single day of his presidency since he took office, the very first day. Keep it going. It keeps going. It just keeps going. And I'll tell you what, I'm damn proud to have President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris representing the United States as Vice President and President of the United States. Please do me, my generation, and future generations a favor, including your own generation, by voting for, not against, your very own best interest. Because President Biden is getting things done regardless of party, regardless of ideology, for everyone in America. That's a good president. That is a good person. That is a good man. People need to be aware of the facts and vote Biden 2024.